We're up here on the Mount of Olives. I don't ever get tired of this view. It's a beautiful view, but even maybe more than its beauty, just what all this really represents. It's a kind of incredible place because Jesus spent a lot of times on this mount right here where we're standing with his disciples. So much has happened in the city of Jerusalem. It has so much to do with the ancient history, but it also has to do with today. It has to do with the future. The Bible talks about all of that. I think probably one of the most incredible places that Jesus teaches us this is in Matthew chapter 24. It started out with his disciples going on to the Temple Mount, and it was the temple there that Herod the Great had built, and it was a beautiful, amazing sight to behold. Stones that were giant that they stacked upon another, and it was so impressive. And the disciples, it says here in Matthew 24, they went out and went to the temple, and his disciples came to him and showed him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said, "See not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." Well, this made the disciples start to think about something. That must be the end of the world. When those stones of this temple are thrown, that's going to be the end of the world. That's what they must have been thinking. We know that contextually because of Matthew 24. But I believe the scope was much greater than just the Romans conquering Jerusalem, because the disciples then asked, after hearing Jesus say, "Not one of those stones will stand on another," Jesus was asked by the disciples, it says, as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world?" That was a very specific question. It wasn't, when will the end of Jerusalem, when will be the end of the Jews being here in Israel? It was a very specific thing. When will the end of the world be? And then Jesus gave that amazing, all of that discourse is what it's called. It's Matthew 24. Jesus said, "Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." "See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then they shall deliver you to be afflicted and kill you and be hated of all nations for my name's sake." When the temple is built, the Antichrist will go into that temple and set himself up to be worshiped, and he will declare himself God in and of himself. And that's when the Bible says the Jews will see that they've been duped, and they'll flee, like the Bible says here in Matthew 24, to the wilderness, over into Petra. They're going to flee to the wilderness for protection from this coming world leader. But they're going to be there for a season, 3.5 years. But then the Bible tells us Jesus is going to return. He's the Prince of Peace. And the Bible says he's going to put his foot back on this mount. So when you think about this Mount of Olives, the Temple Mount, Jerusalem, it really is the epicenter of all Bible prophecy. All the things that we're talking about here have very much to do with Jerusalem and what happens here. Zechariah 12, Zechariah chapter 14 tells us whoever tries to handle this Jerusalem is going to be handling a cup of trembling, and it's going to be a time of trouble for any nation that thinks they can solve this problem.